What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're talking about NIO. Going to do an update on the Tesla of China, the electric vehicle maker. IPO'd on the New York Stock Exchange for a multi-billion-dollar valuation a couple years ago, hit sort of a rough patch after the IPO, struggling to meet financial and delivery targets. But since then, very recently, the stock on very strong delivery numbers has soared to pretty much all-time highs, now well above the IPO price. I actually got a super chat on a live stream I was doing from a subscriber, huge thank you, telling me to do an update video on NIO. Been a couple quarters since I did one, so I thought, why not? This is great timing. Their most recent financial report was Q1 2020. They're selling all their cars in China right now. They're based in Shanghai. Obviously, the coronavirus was hit super hard in Q1. They also have the Chinese New Year in February, so that's a little bit of a seasonally slower season. Due to this, NIO saw its deliveries decline massively sequentially. They were even down year over year as well. Just a really tough quarter for NIO in general and pretty much everybody in China, given the state of the coronavirus. But since then, NIO has made a couple very strategic moves. I think part of their recent stock price rise has also been, Tesla stock has been soaring, Nikola, Arcimoto, pretty much every company in the electric vehicle space is seeing a huge tailwind of capital and financial market inflows recently. I think NIO's been, really benefiting from that as well. NIO ended Q1 with only about $339 million USD of cash, which isn't that much considering their loss for the quarter was about $240 million. So NIO didn't have much cash. They weren't making money. Their deliveries weren't doing well. But then all of a sudden, the company was able to do, it looks like at least one major financing. I couldn't really tell if it was two or not, but they did put out a couple press releases about a completion of an offering of American depository shares. They sold about 72 million shares, it looks like, at a price of $5.95 per share. This would give the company about $430 million. Additionally, the company also announced a substantial cash injection into NIO China in June. I'm unsure whether this is the same investment as the other one or not, but either way, the point being here, NIO raised a ton of money. I mean, we know that running a vehicle company is so expensive, literally billions of dollars to get an electric vehicle program off the ground and running and profitable. NIO was trying to get through that chasm, didn't look like they had much cash, but now that they got this big injection, things have been, everything's looking up, blue sky coming, to use their company logo. But then the real piece of news that we got, which is why I wanted to make this video, was that they updated us on June and second quarter 2020 delivery updates. So we don't know the financials for Q2, but we did get the deliveries, and they were a record 10,331 vehicles. This was above the guidance of 9,500 to 10,000. So they crushed their guidance, and it's actually a record quarter. Welcome to the world of hypercharts. This is NIO's China's page. I put in there, it says estimated, but these are their real deliveries, just to show you here visually, and I'll give you a great sense of it. So here's what happened with NIO. They launched here with the ES6, I believe, or the ES8, which was their large sort of luxury Model X SUV, although a little bit cheaper price point. So they had deliveries of that. They were doing pretty well. They hit 3,000 units, or, they start in Q2, 100 units, then 3,000, then 8,000. Then they sort of got through that backlog, and then they were also about to release the ES6, which is sort of cheaper version, cannibalizing their own products. So as that started to come out, deliveries started dipping again. Additionally, I don't know, I think this was a lot worse than the company was expecting and investors were expecting here in Q1 and Q2 2019, 4,000 deliveries, then down to 3,000. I think this was really underwhelming. And that's why during that period, the stock underperformed massively. But then the ES6 comes out, seems like sales of that are doing pretty strong. So then, we see 8,200 sales, almost actually a record quarter in Q4 2019. But then they get hit with this massive coronavirus pandemic. But then now it looks like they reported 10,300 sales. I mean, this is an all-time record for the company, indicating very strong strength, booming back up in terms of production. We've also seen Tesla in China seemingly to have very strong delivery numbers. So it seems like this is another clue that at least electric luxury vehicle market in China appears to be roaring back. And I'm actually getting pretty excited and personally a lot more bullish on NIO than I have been on the past because, it seems like they might be finally getting through that honeymoon phase. This is, I think, the most common thing that we're seeing with EV startups is they'll unveil a, really fancy multi-$100 million prototype, start this backlog, say, unveil these specs, get everyone and the public and the internet so hyped about these vehicles. And then it's actually like, wait, how many are going to build? They can't do it profitably. They never really scale production. And these companies sort of fizzle and die. I mean, we had Byton, this company that actually visited their store in China with this huge screen, this sort of really wild concept car that got sort of hype and buzz, even in America. And that, they just shuttered and closed. So there's clearly a honeymoon phase in these EV startups, and it's really difficult for the rubber to meet the road when production launches and them to really become a truly successful mass market product. But I think NIO is the closest after Tesla to getting there, actually. And let's just scroll to the financials here so I can show you. So we have this 10,300 vehicle deliveries here. Now let's go to the financials and what they look like. And I did estimate this. This is not anything official from NIO, but just to show you what I'm thinking. So before this, let's remove my estimates just to show you the exact numbers from NIO here. And I'll put a link to this in the description, hypercharts.co/NIO. You can check out my estimates. But so these are the financials of NIO. And what are you noticing? A lot of red. The company is losing huge amounts of money. They've never had a profitable quarter. Even their gross profit has been negative every single quarter except Q4 when they made $2 million in gross profit on revenue of 500 million. So it basically took NIO 500 million revenue, a $2 billion revenue run rate to get to break even on their gross margin. That just goes to show you when you think about Nikola, when you think about Arcimoto, when you think about these other companies that are trying to launch, I mean, to achieve even a positive gross margin, let alone, net margin or operating margin, takes massive scale, thousands of deliveries, billions of dollars of revenue run rate to even scratch the surface on profitability. So I think this is a fascinating electric vehicle case study for NIO. I do think it is worth noting though that when I went to the NIO store and visited them in Shanghai about a year ago, what I did notice is these cars are extremely luxurious, like very nice interiors. Like it looks like they're really, really expensive when you get in. They have like all these fancy massaging seats. They have Nomi, the little AI assistant who pops up. Like it feels like an extremely expensive luxury car. And so, but they were selling it for like cheaper than a Tesla. So I think NIO was going for like get market share, put out a really good product, not really worry about making money on these first vehicles. So that is important to consider when you're thinking about this gross margin as a case study. But the point being here, they hit this positive gross margin when they hit 500 million in revenue and they had about 8,000 in deliveries. So now that they're going to do about 10,000 in deliveries, I think we're going to see another record quarter, 500 million in revenue or so. And the reason why I didn't increase revenue that much correlated to deliveries is because they're going to deliver more of that ES6, that lower price car. But I did sort of, take a guess at gross margin saying those might go positive. They might have improved manufacturing efficiencies since a couple years ago. And I think, this is all up in the air, but this is my excitement about NIO is that they're finally turning the corner. And I think this may be the first quarter where we get a really solid, gross margin of maybe a couple percent, which seems like nothing, but that actually would be a huge deal. And then it'll continue to ramp from here. Like now they've gotten to the point where they can build cars profitably. If they scale to 15,000 deliveries a quarter, 20,000, 30,000 deliveries a quarter, I actually think NIO, we're starting to see a roadmap for the entire company to get profitable. And even with this, you'll see in Q1, yes, they had really weak revenue, but their loss was actually the lowest it had been in many quarters, only 221 million. That hadn't been that low since like, Q3 2017 before they were even doing any cars at all. So I think NIO went through a very healthy correction phase of like, okay, we're so excited, we've got this awesome car, we're raising a ton of money, we're spending like crazy, and then like, wait, they had to fire a ton of people, slow down these factory plans, really tuck in the financials, make it a more streamlined operation, and I think that's really paying off. They've raised the capital, the deliveries are back up and soaring. This is all really, really good news. And looking ahead, NIO is not stopping here. They have the ES8, they have the ES6, they're also on the cusp of launching the EC6, which is sort of this new mini SUV coupe, sort of in between a Model Y and a Model 3, cheaper price. Here are the specs: 615 mile NEDC kilometer range, 4.7 second 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 544 maximum HP. I do think it looks pretty cool. With the introduction of this, I mean, we're seeing NIO continue to expand their lineup and execute. I will say the ES6, the way they launched it and scaled production was pretty impressive. They've done so very, very quickly. Like I think NIO is actually pretty good at manufacturing and scaling up and getting good quickly. Pace of innovation here is definitely impressive, and they've shown the ability to launch a car quickly and scale it. So that's why I take this EC6 a lot more seriously than many other concept cars because, we saw the ES6 and it was just this concept car, bam, they unveil it, scaling to thousands of deliveries. I think the EC6 is the same. It's going to be a new adjacent vehicle category, expanding that NIO addressable market. I think the ES8, ES6, EC6, these names are a little confusing, combined, this could have an annual delivery potential of maybe even up to 100,000 units just in China alone. And so you think about that could be, 5-6 billion maybe in USD revenue. So I think that there's a lot potential of growth here in the next 4 to 5 quarters for NIO to go from 10,000 deliveries a quarter to 20 to 30,000 deliveries a quarter, potentially doubling or tripling the size of that business. And if we go back to hypercharts here, I mean, this is with 10,000 deliveries, they could do 500 million in revenue, tiny amount of gross profit. profit. I think it's all starts to really drop to the bottom line here as they keep scaling. So now let's talk about the valuation. Actually, I dived into the numbers. Hypercharts is a little off here. I think it's because of the Chinese stock, the ADR. But anyway, my research shows there's about 1.2 billion shares outstanding for NIO, fully diluted, times 12.85 a share. We're looking at about a $15 billion fully diluted market cap for NIO. So that's where you can start to do the pen to paper for your valuation. Like I said, with their current vehicle lineup, I think NIO could quickly scale to a $5 billion run rate, ES8, ES6, EC6. So $5 billion revenue run rate here in 2 to 3 quarters, versus a $15 billion revenue or market capitalization. I think, NIO on a forward price sales basis could be trading at about 3 to 4 times price sales. And given the fact this is rapidly growing, 100,000 deliveries is nowhere near the cap for NIO in China. I think 100,000 deliveries could eventually be the floor. We could be doing hundreds of thousands just in China. China sells millions and millions of cars per year. And so I see NIO and Tesla both having huge opportunity to be very successful leaders of that luxury new electric vehicle OEM. Longer term, I do think NIO could potentially export its cars to the US, to Europe, around the globe. I mean, they IPO'd in the New York Stock Exchange. I think NIO is potentially one of the first moves where we could see a Chinese luxury brand go beyond just domestic success in China to really be a Chinese luxury brand that's successful in Europe and the US. And I think that's the goal of NIO. They want to export these vehicles longer term and not just be confined to China. So I think there's a huge, huge vision here. For NIO as a company. And frankly, one of my, obviously biased Tesla shareholder, I have no stock in NIO, but I've been very impressed, to see them persevere, to get through this, to get back to record deliveries, to continue that product pipeline development. I think NIO has got a lot of potential. And, I look at NIO at 15 billion versus Nikola at 15 billion. And I'm like, this is just night and day. NIO actually has 3 cars that you can pretty much buy that they're selling. They're delivering thousands of them. Their financials are, still kind of suck, but they're decent and improving. They're raising hundreds of millions of dollars. I've been into the store. There's people actually driving these vehicles. They exist. Yet you contrast that with a company like Nikola for $15 billion who literally has nothing. It's all vaporware. There's no deliveries. There's no revenue. So in terms of a lot of these EV companies seeming to get to massively stratospheric bubble-like valuations, despite NIO's run, I actually don't think it's that stratospheric bubble-like because their core operating financials and fundamentals of the business have been improving dramatically here. And so I think, if the Chinese economy continues to bounce back strongly, NIO is really going to benefit here. So anyway, I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. Definitely going to be following NIO and see what's up with their Q2 results, see how they stack up with mine. But, what are your thoughts on NIO? Do you think they can pull it off? Do you think there's enough room for NIO and Tesla to really win and become both huge businesses in China? Leave it below. Anyway, thanks to the Hyperchanger who gave me the super chat live stream comment idea to do this video. Huge shout out to our Patreon producers, supporters as well. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.